There is no reason why you can't have even more purpose and more passion in your latter years than you did when you were younger. But you got to believe you can have them.
Welcome to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg.
All right, we are live from the Ben Reinberg I Own It studio today in Laguna Beach, California. And today we have an incredible guest I'm excited to speak with. We call her the Gene Queen. She is an entrepreneur, a designer, a TV personality. Is there anything else, mystery guest, that I'm missing?
Yes, I am now a silver influencer officially. And I am also in the top 10% of podcasts for women over 50 called Too Young to Be Old, as in your brain will always be too young to be old.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me present you, my dear friend, the Gene Queen, Diane Gilman. Diane, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
What a pleasure. Let's kick things off for our audience and take us back and share how you got started in the fashion industry.
Woo. Well, you know, it's funny how fate deals out your influences in life. And I thought to myself as a young kid, wow, this is perfect. I know exactly what I want to do. I never played with baby dolls. I just wanted to dress everybody else's baby dolls and make clothes for them and embroider them. And my mother and father were totally against a female child working. So actually, when I was a junior in high school, I got a 4-year scholarship to the Sorbonne, which would be ideal for somebody who wanted to learn to design. And my parents burnt up the letter. I found out when I was 52 years old. So I had a lot of resistance. The 60s were there. I wanted to go to any kind of design school, but really in New York, that wasn't going to happen. So, okay, all right. So I go to UCLA, and there I meet a crazy woman named Rosanna, who is friends with the Doors and Steven Spielberg. And we open up a little shop together and hand make all the clothing. Cher comes in, buys out the whole store, and that's kind of how I got started. The real truth was I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know how to get there. So I tried every avenue I could. I dressed rock and roll stars for years. Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, all of the Doors, Sly and the Family Stone. And it was great. I mean, it was a rock and roll life, and it was done at a time when there weren't so many filters between celebrities and people like me, where, you know, you would trade an embroidered vest you'd worked on for 3 weeks just to get a backstage pass. I did that till I was about 25. I moved up to San Francisco to be near Gracie Slick and the Jefferson Airplane, someone else I dressed. And then at some point, I just woke up one morning and said, okay, party's over. I'm not getting any younger, and this is really fun, but I think I better get professional. And I just took a bet. I knew one person in New York, bought an airline ticket, came to New York, never looked back. And nobody would hire me because I had no education. The other thing that I find interesting, and, you know, because I bridge two industries, television / entertainment, teleretailing, and fashion design, it is amazing. And I bet you actors would agree with me. Industries that run off talent are absolutely the most paranoid about talent. In other words, you can tell people you're talented, but until you make them that first $1 million, you ain't nothing.
That's right.
Yeah. So
it's all about what have you done for me lately? It's the same thing in commercial real estate with investors in my line of work. It's that it's Ben Reinberg and Alliance. What have you? I could make investors millions and millions of dollars, which we've done the last 3 decades of my career. And it's always about what's the next deal. Everyone has amnesia.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. So with all these incredible talent that you dressed, any fun stories you want to share, like a story or two you can kind of throw out there?
Oh my God. Okay, so I dressed Rod Stewart because I also used to I used to take denim jackets, denim vests, denim jeans, but I also used to take leather and hand whip stitch it and hand paint it, really beautiful pieces. Yeah, I got invited to a Rod Stewart birthday party in San Francisco, and Lulu de la Falaise, who subsequently became the muse for Yves Saint Laurent, had on literally 2 pieces of buckskin, one attached at the shoulder, the other attached at the diagonal hip. He was singing without a band. He was just singing. And she was dancing from table to table. And then it was like the Last Supper. He was in the middle and the tables went like that. And I'll never forget that. And I thought to myself, do I want to be a groupie? I mean, there were some pretty wild groupies there. And I thought, no, the emotional makeup for it, stick to design. So that was one of the last parties I went to. But, throughout the years, when I took my own company international and did TV in the UK and out of Paris and out of Milan and out of Dusseldorf and all over the world, Toronto and also Australia, my makeup artist, and I always attracted these people to me, my makeup artist in UK had gone on 3 tours with the Rolling Stones just to fill in Mick Jagger and Keith Richards' wrinkles. That's all she did. Then and she had some wild stories to tell, but I'm not telling them while they're alive.
All right, well,
I'll get sued.
Let's talk. Yeah, I hear
you. When you are in that life, or even on the periphery of it,
right?
Youth is not wasted on the young. For people like me, I had a wild time and a really good time, and I knew when the party was over, and I needed to get professional and make a serious name for myself.
So your books, Good Genes and Too Young to Be Old, have a lot of wisdom for women looking to reinvent themselves and overcome ageism. What made you decide, Diane? I wanted to ask you, to share your story and inspire others to live their lives to the fullest, no matter what age they are.
I think part of it was I felt like I was hit over the head with a baseball bat when I was 72. I'm 78 now. So when I was 72, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And I will always say that cancer is a great teacher. Cancer is the great cathartic experience. And you've got 2 choices. You can either take it by flooding your life and those around you with light, or darkness. I chose light. And I came out the other end of that cancer, what I call the cancer tunnel, where you're just, enveloped in treatments and people sticking needles in you and God knows what. I came out understanding human nature so much better, realizing I lived most of my life through my talents in an ivory tower. And that cancer didn't care that I lived in a penthouse on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And cancer didn't care that I was #1 on tele-retailing amongst all fashion people. Cancer didn't care that I was glamorous. And you are humbled by that disease. But I realized when I came out of it and I was given, relatively clean bill of health, that it was necessary to set me up for the rest of my life. And because I was at a hospital, Mount Sinai in Manhattan, Dubin Breast Cancer Center drop-in clinic within it, that took everybody. And I will tell one quick story. I realized that I was saved to turn around and save others. So everybody had their own private infusion room. This was a very luxurious place with white orchids, and you got a catered lunch, and honestly, you had your own masseuse. You got a shoulder massage or a foot massage during chemo. I mean, it was pure Manhattan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one day I'm in there getting infused. I'm in my own little room watching TV, and I hear, oh, Sheila's here. Hey, everybody, Sheila's here. So all the nurses come thundering in. And it's, Sheila, you look great. Sheila, how are you? Oh, my God, we're so happy to see you. And by the way, we've got your favorite sandwich for lunch. Shh, don't tell anybody. We saved like 3 of them for you. So finally, one of the nurses comes in to see whether I'm alive or dead. And I said, hey, wait a second here. I'm not chopped liver. Who is this Sheila? And I'm thinking, oh, she must be an anchor on CNN or MSNBC. Oh, she must be a television star. No. Sheila was an abused mother living in a shelter with her child and had stage 3 breast cancer. And the food was so horrible in the shelter that those 3 sandwiches were going to be her only 3 meals for the next 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And I came out of that. I thought, but for the grace of God, go I. I came out of it a changed person.
Mm-hmm.
I never, ever, ever again complained about one day of my life. I always took the positive road. I devoted myself to get rid of the toxic. And along the way, and getting into a state of gratitude and joy, which I remain within, I realized that so many women around me did not have the benefits I had for aging. They didn't have the medical care, but they also, I was on TV for 30 years. I understood makeup. I had hairdressers. I had makeup artists. I had people that styled me and dressed me. I had all of that. And it still wasn't easy to age. And I thought, the sisterhood I built on tele-retail on QVC HSN, mm-hmm. which at its peak was almost at 700,000 women. I thought that sisterhood looks to me and went for everything, moral support, advice. I made the relationship with my audience much deeper than the ordinary vendor. And then at a certain point after I went through all the treatment, I just thought, you know what? I've done this for 30 years. Life is so precious. You get to a certain age, mm-hmm. and your most valuable commodity is time.
That's right.
And what do I really want to do with my time? The network was not always so thrilled with me giving real emotional speeches about the genes, although it meant a lot to the customer. And I just took a plunge after 30 years, still number 1. Could have stayed there forever and fossilized. I thought, what were your key points when you were young? And it was how adventuresome I was, how much I believed in myself, and how willing I was to take risks and chances to get what I wanted. So I asked myself the other question, what do you really want? I want to take care of my sisterhood. I want to elevate their lives. And so I just told them I was leaving, and nobody was too happy. And I thought, universe, show me a sign. Show me I did the right thing. Well, about 5 weeks after I left, and I was beginning to look at that abyss, that dark abyss of retirement, no good for someone like me, I just got a call out of the clear blue sky with somebody saying, I really loved the way you talked on TV. Do you want your own weekly podcast? And I said, yeah. And so here I am.
Well, you've shown tremendous resilience in your life, like I have as well. I mean, after losing your husband and overcoming breast cancer, you came back to the fashion scene and create a whole new line for the baby boomer generation, which is really impressive. What advice overcoming fear and hardships and channeling into success? What were some of the biggest lessons you learned from being resilient in your life. I mean, in commercial real estate, in my business for doing almost 3 decades, you have to be extremely resilient. It's a challenging business. We raise tremendous amount of equity, a lot of properties, a lot of issues every day. Resiliency is everything in being consistent. You've been so successful in business and you've had this tremendous resilience. From those events that recently happened, what did you learn from it? I mean, obviously gratitude was something you mentioned, staying persistent, but what really came out of it you found from these experiences?
I think the running theme for my entire life was nobody ever believed in me but me. Mm-hmm. My parents didn't believe in me. And as a matter of fact, I left home. I sort of ran away from home, never went back. And when my father passed away, I had been away from home for 35 years. I went back for the funeral and I was just on television, but also I introduced washable silk to America. It was huge moneymaker trend. And my name was on every department store. I had my own departments in every department store in America. So somebody said to my mother, I remember at the funeral, so aren't you proud of Diane now? She's in every department store. Everybody knows her name and her label, and she's on TV. And my mother looked at this woman and said, she should have married a Jewish doctor.
Oh, boy.
That was it. Okay, that was it. So from the time I was a little girl, I realized I had to listen to my heart. Mm-hmm. And if you always lead with your heart, especially when you are in any kind of art, and believe me, being on television, even selling, and I was not an ordinary seller, you are a performer. If you can use your heart energy, you will always touch people and win. And that's so true. I think what cancer did for me was made me vulnerable. And that vulnerability made me have to use my heart. And people recognize it and they're touched by it. So what you're the most scared of may be the most valuable thing you could have to get over your fear of. Because I think my whole life, and I'm sure you're the same way in real estate, when you're rejected, it's so awful. Oh my God. And so what do? Well, if you're in a profession where the rejection is pretty in your face when it happens, you tend to gird yourself by putting a lot of layers between you and those people that are judging you. So I think vulnerability and opening up your heart and, you can see it if you go to a Broadway play. You'll see one person sing a song and you're like, yeah, great voice. You'll see another person sing that song and you'll have tears streaming down your face. And that's what the performer should want. They should want to open up their heart and be able to grab the audience's heart. So whatever you're doing.
And it's so well said.
Don't be afraid to open yourself up.
And I totally agree. It's and like I say, if you come from a state of love and not a state of fear, coming from your heart, a state of love, being a good listener, seeking the truth in what other people are saying, you will impact, Diane, so many more people when you come from that state. Yeah. And it's a huge thing. It's a huge lesson to learn out there for everyone. I imagine that when you were designing custom jeans for rock stars, you probably weren't thinking about designing mom jeans. And my staff and I were laughing because they were making fun of me, Diane. I had no idea what mom jeans are. And you could probably teach me, but what made you embrace mom jeans and what style of jeans do you like the most?
Okay, so here's what happened. I lived with somebody for 20 years and that guy was my rock. And I was so damaged from my home life. And I'm not going to go into what I went through, but trust me, I grew up at a time when the TV shows were like Leave It to Beaver, but mine was more like the Addams Family. I mean, no happiness, lots of violence, bad news. So he, 10 years into the relationship, was diagnosed with cancer. And 10 painful years later, he passed. And I had gone down to, I was totally anorexic. I was probably about 90, 95 pounds. Mm-hmm. He died eventually of colon cancer. He couldn't eat. And of course, I didn't eat. I wasn't going to eat around him. Mm-hmm. I then became a totally emotional eater. I filled my life with, I called myself a pastagenarian. I filled my life with pasta. So I would just come home from work, dump a whole thing of pasta in boiling water, pour a whole can of tomato sauce over it, and eat it all night long. I gained over 100 pounds. Mm. I then had to figure out how I was going to lose this weight. But along the way, I mean, I lost maybe 40 pounds, but I was still like 160, 170. And I wanted to look cool, but it was impossible. And there were no jeans out there for not a chubby middle-aged body, but any middle-aged body, because women tend to age with all the weight going around their middle and skinny legs. It's just an estrogen hormonal thing. So I was so tired of wearing clothing that was like Mama Baba hide me clothing, which of course never hides you. And I'm a Leo, so of course I need a lot of attention. So one day I just thought, gosh, you're so stupid. Just go out and buy 3 yards of stretch denim. Take your measurements, make a pair of jeans. I had a studio at the time, a sewing studio in Manhattan. And I did, and I wore them. And I thought, this is crazy. People treat me when I'm wearing these jeans like I'm younger, hipper, smarter. One of them, otherwise, they were always saying to me, well, yeah, Diane, back in your day, I wanted to smack them. So I thought, okay, I feel so much better about myself wearing these jeans. But it was an anomaly. It was so far away from industry standards of what measurements are with the jean. So I knocked on a lot of doors and people said nice things to me like, who wants to see a fat old chick like you in a pair of jeans? Well, thank you. And then we got a female CEO at QVC-HSN who had founded Polo Jeans with Ralph Lauren way back. I brought the idea to her and I said, look, the baby boomers are the largest generation on earth. We don't have a jean. But when you think about it, probably for most of these women, their first family vacation with a baby was in a pair of jeans. Their first date with their husband was in a pair of jeans. On and on and on. And so she gave me a chance, but she didn't give me prime time. I was already a real high performer with washable silk, but that was not close to my heart. So she said, okay, but I can't afford to lose $400,000 or $500,000 if you flop on a primetime show. So she gave me 5 a.m. on a Sunday, February morning, Eastern Standard Time. So God knows on the Pacific Coast, it was 2 a.m. in the morning? Mm-hmm. We sold out of 5,000 jeans in 3 minutes. We sold out of every jean. Oh, and by the way, I failed to mention, I also had a hostess with me because you couldn't go on alone, mm-hmm. who was a size 3X, refused to wear the jeans, and burst out in tears screaming, I hate jeans. And this was my host. Oh, thank you. Shoot me now. Is there a gun around? So there we were. And no one believed it. Oh, that was just, an anomaly. But no, it wasn't. And we went to, at retail, $100 million. And to date, I think, although I'm separated from my company now, I sold it. We sold 21 million jeans in 13 years.
Wow. That's unbelievable. Let me ask you, did you, before your business took off, did you need to raise money for your business? And how'd you go about doing it?
I always needed to raise money. I always had, and for some reason, and I don't know why, but I must have always been looking for a father because my father was very abusive. So I think I was always looking for a father. So I always picked male partners who had the money and found a million ways to cheat me. And then one day I met a really good lawyer. And I'm not even going to go into the story, but the day I went into chemotherapy, my business partners found ways to make it more profitable, perhaps for themselves than for me. Pretty horrible. And I stated my case. I finally, at the end of my career, got my due. I finally got it. But yes, I was always scrambling for money.
Mm-hmm.
And I did so many things myself, even when I started my first business in Manhattan and I was discovered by Bloomingdale's. I remember packing all my own boxes with the product in it and getting a taxi and getting dropped off at the UPS docks. And there would be giant tractor trailer and then little me standing there and then another giant tractor trailer behind me. You know, no matter what time of day, I had to do something. And for tele-retail, you may be on at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., then again at 8 a.m. I never said no.
Mm.
I wanted success.
Yeah, it sounds like
not,
it.
Yeah.
So when you went out to raise money, how did you do it? I mean, did you have to put together a package for people, or
no, nobody would give me any money. So the first time I worked as a waitress at Max's Kansas City at night, and the old ladies' bullet bra and girdle department at Bloomingdale's during the day. Saved my money. Sewed all my own samples, got the order from Bloomingdale's, and then I burst out in tears and they said, "What is wrong with you? You should be so happy. We just ordered," and this was like 1974. "We just ordered $100,000 worth." And I said, "Yeah, but I have no money to make it. I'm sewing all this stuff myself." So believe it or not, Bloomingdale's funded me on everything.
Oh, that's
including all the windows of the store, including free double trunk ads in the New York Times. Finally, somebody who really saw talent. And that was Bloomingdale's game for many, many years, as long as Marvin Traub was the president.
That's fantastic.
That started it. And then once that happened, and you had that support from the hippest department store in America behind you, and you were making them money, it was easier to get money. But I was always a minority partner, and there's always a way to steal money from someone like me. I'm a creative. I'm not a suit. And that was my weakness my whole life.
Yeah, I mean, in our acquisitions, we have funds and syndications. And when I started, when I was in my early 20s, I had to give away the store. You know, I had to give away 80%, 85% deal. But once we started making people money, it changed. I mean, now on syndications, I'm 50-50 because it's the privilege to come. Yeah. I'm like a Birkin bag, Diane. But that's what we say. Our deals are the Birkin bag. But same thing with our funds. I mean, it's a privilege to come in. We make investors, high net worth accredited investors, a tremendous amount of money for the past 3 decades. And you earn it just like you did as well. And so with all the trials and tribulations and all the success you've had, if you look back, like what was some of the biggest risks you felt you've taken, either personal or financial, in your career?
Well, I think the biggest risk was after 30 years walking away and just saying, I live off adrenaline. That's one of the biggest risks I've ever taken. And it still hasn't monetized yet, but I can tell it will. And I think the other biggest risk was getting behind my gene, which nobody in the industry had ever seen, and saying, yeah, I believe in this. Go ahead, order $1 million worth of jeans, and I guarantee you, I'll sell every one of them. And, you know, our best day was, honestly, I got back from cancer treatment. I literally had my last radiation treatment in the basement of Mount Sinai on Fifth Avenue, had my bag packed, schlepped it with me, got off that cold hard table, put my clothes on, got to LaGuardia, and went and did a show.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you're good, they want you to be on every major holiday. That's when people are home. So we did just basic jeans, a skinny, my favorite, and a boot cut at a great price. We sold 225,000 of them.
Isn't that amazing? I have to ask you a question, because how do women buy jeans online when they haven't tried them on?
Well,
how does that work? Because, I know you go to a store, you want to try it on, you want to turn around, look at your ass in the mirror. I mean, why does a woman buy it online?
First of all, there was me, and I was wearing it, and I was very honest about my figure challenges and where I felt I was overweight and where I felt I was underweight in my own body. Second of all, you have models with other sizes, large size models, skinny models, short models, petite models, tall models. And then I showed how much stretch there was in the jeans. Our secret sauce was applying the waistband in a certain way that had tremendous stretch to it. So for me, I could take a small size because the waistband stretched 8 or 9 inches. Unheard of in the industry. I made it work. I was a female who designed a female-oriented product for women my age, and I just figured hormones are hormones, and we're all in it together. And that when we had so much success in America, I then thought to myself, okay, it doesn't matter whether you're eating snails in Paris or pasta in Milan or dumplings in Dusseldorf. You're going through the same hormonal changes as every other woman on earth. Why wouldn't this gene work? So I went to president of QVC, our sister network, and I said, give me a chance. They had done a really good job with foreign networks. And we shot to #1 everywhere we went. If I had to give advice, I don't know that this applies to your industry, but it definitely does to mine. Follow your instinct. You will always know in your heart of hearts, in your gut, whether I used to feel like a quickening, like I would design something and everyone would say, "Oh, Diane, it's great," and I would say, "No, it's not. No, that's great." And they would go, "Really?" I could feel it. I knew it. It was visceral. And, you almost have to be a fortune teller if you're a designer and you're trying to figure out what women are going to wear a year and a half ahead of time.
It's not just the fashion. It's every industry. Your intuition. It's human nature. So, for example, when we feel an investor is not a good fit, or it's not going to be a long-term relationship, we'll remove that from our universe. It's the same thing, whether it's a property you buy, whether it's a relationship you have, whether it's anything in your life. Your inner voice. It's this inner voice. I call it, your sixth sense, that inner voice that tells you something's not right, or tells you something's good, or to double down on something. When you can listen to that inner voice, that intuition, it speaks to you. It tells you really what you need to hear. And a lot of people don't want to listen to that inner voice.
Right.
It's a challenge because you want something, Diane, you go down a road and you work so hard for something and maybe it's not right. But you keep pushing through, but your intuition is saying, you know what, maybe you should pivot. Yeah. Maybe you should change, it's same thing with a relationship. So it's very well said, because it's so true. That inner voice it's a key to the niches that we've established in commercial real estate. We've been the leaders in a medical office investing, because the human body never goes out of style.
Yeah.
And that's my mantra. I don't know what is your mantra?
Never give up, never give in, and it's never too late to be a success.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of real estate, okay, which is something I love, especially office, industrial, and retail. I heard through the grapevine that you invest in real estate. What kind of properties do you focus on? And are there any other asset classes you like to invest in?
I like residential, and
Okay.
I took a big chance and invested in a duplex penthouse with a private garden in Harlem.
Uh-huh.
And so we got renovations, still working on that. Just love it. Now it's really difficult, obviously, with mortgages at 7%.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to be in an up and coming neighborhood. And I wanted it is actually connected to the most expensive neighborhood in New York, Carnegie Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I have these massive views of Central Park. There's a natural lake called the Harlem Mere right out my window. It's very unique space. And we knocked out the entire exterior wall facing the park. So I have 10-foot high windows, 40 feet of contiguous windows. You walk in and you're slammed with the view. And then 2 giant skylights put in a glass staircase. So the light's always beaming down through the glass staircase, put in an interior garden. I made it my dream place. It's time. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? So I don't know if I would invest in Manhattan again, but if I did, I would have to say that the equivalent of this townhouse 15 blocks down would have been double the price. It would have been almost untouchable. I have a huge, 1,500-foot private garden with fountain, and you go downstairs and there's a private outdoor dining room, and it's slamming. It is.
It sounds fantastic.
So I guess for real estate, for me,
you're residential. So
the art,
okay.
The art and the heart.
Our niche is medical office.
Yeah.
And it's something we've grown up, and we've owned large office campuses and towers and industrial complexes and big shopping centers and retail as well. But no, residential can you do very well. I mean, right now, if you don't know, there's about $1.6 trillion of commercial real estate loans coming due. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities. We're probably going to get into a deeper recession than we're at right now. And so sell all your inventory now, because I think there's going to be a shortage of cash with a lot of consumers out there coming up. Let me ask you something. So you came from nothing.
Yeah.
And similar backgrounds, and we're both members of the tribe. And then all of a sudden, you're making significant dollars.
Yeah.
Okay. I went through the same experience. How did you deal with it?
I squirreled it.
What'd you do?
I set limits for myself. I said, I'd be happy if I had one Birkin bag before I died. So I bought a Birkin bag.
Okay.
But I didn't buy another Birkin bag. I didn't. And I want my money to make money, although that hasn't been so easy lately. But I'm a squirreler and a hoarder.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big, I like good clothing. I like fine things, but I'm not a big spender. And that's just in my roots. I'm I'm first generation. I'm Ukrainian. My parents came over in 1904 and 1906.
Mm-hmm.
So they came through Ellis Island. My father knew how to make money, but I don't know. I need a good foundational net worth to feel like I can sleep at night.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. For somebody like me, it's about the money's in the bank. I get to go look at it every once in a while.
But you've built a lot of generational wealth with your gene empire. How do you invest to ensure there is a legacy? And how do you select an investment? Now, because you're fairly conservative, what you're telling me. So what do you do?
No. Before 2008, I didn't really have all that much money to invest. So the real deal for me, mm-hmm. which is probably quite unique, is I made all my money after the age of 75. How crazy is that? So the crazier thing with my brain is if I had the amount of money I have right now and I was 50, I would be really right to ponder, okay, now I've got to make more. But in my brain, I think I've got to make more. And I'm 78, but I'm thinking, okay, I'm 78. How much longer will it be before I start making money as a silver-haired influencer and on my podcast? And I've got to keep this money squirreled away because I could live another 20, 22 years. I'm really healthy again. And so isn't that strange? I mean, that's just how my brain works. It's never enough. Too much is never enough for a Leo like me. And so part of it I put into annuities. And I know everybody goes, oh, annuities. But the real truth is it gives me if I want to start cashing in on those, which I have not done yet, it gives me a really good foundational basis every year. I've got nice amount of money to spend, and that's only a part of what I've done. And then lately, tucked under a mattress. I don't know. And with the government possibly closing down those clowns in a few days, then what's going to happen? So we are living in very uncertain times, and where I would ordinarily have a more aggressive nature towards it, I'm all buttoned up now.
Oh, that's good to hear. So what's the name of your podcast?
Too Young to Be Old.
Too Young to Be Old.
Yeah.
And what type of guests do you bring on?
It's very female oriented.
Okay.
And
so a guy like Ben Reinberg couldn't make a cameo?
No, you could.
Oh, okay.
Would you?
Yeah, for sure.
You would?
I'll come on your show. I'll have a lot of it. I'm an amazing guest on a show.
Excuse me,
I was in Vegas. I went on like 5 shows the last 3 days. It's great.
All right. So audience,
there you go. I will dazzle all your women listeners.
You're dazzling me already.
With a lot of knowledge and content to help them, because I want to make sure they inspire them. And I have a tremendous amount of women on my leadership team that are in prominent roles. And soon coming up, a lady who's worked for me for about 15 years, she will end up shortly in the next 24 months being the CEO of my company. So
Yay.
Very excited about that. So yeah, I empower a lot of women that work for me. And so I could definitely give them my view and help them on your show as well.
I'm getting my social media manager in touch with you. You are the man of your word, because
I am.
It was such a good interview. You know what? And I'm not saying I was great on the interview today, but you were. And
we're not done yet. Hold on. We can talk about this in a little bit, but let's do this. Let's wrap up. First of all, what is the best way? Because I want to make sure people know about Diane Gilman. I think it's important. I think you're an incredible story. You're a comeback story, which I love. You embody what I love about myself and business is being resilient, persistence, dependable, reliable, focused. All these qualities have produced all these incredible success stories behind your name.
Do you know what I say, honestly? That life is a series of walls, brick walls.
That's right.
And there's always a door somewhere. It's just hidden. The door to the next phase of your life, the door to the light, the door to success. And you got to keep knocking on that wall and pushing on that wall until you find your way through. And you might as well make it a game and make it fun while you're doing it too.
I agree with you. It's mindset. It's what are you going to do on a daily basis to get up and grind? I mean, do you have a morning routine? Like I meditate 2 times a day, okay, to keep myself grounded and to become the best version of myself. I work out frequently. What do you do to stay healthy and stay grounded?
I make a double espresso or a triple espresso every morning. I get it all set up the night before. My cats wake me up. They're jumping on me. I want to kill them at like 5:30 a.m. So I'm up by 6:30 a.m. I already have a plan for the day.
Okay.
Every day is purpose driven. Every day is about productivity. And if I don't have a million podcasts or interviews I'm doing that day, then I'm exercising. to make sure you can't do anything without your health. So I don't know. There is not a day that I wake up where I don't say, wow, I really love being alive. What am I doing today? How am I going to help people today? I know that sounds corny, but honestly, go through what I went through and you'll know it's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
what's the best way for our audience to be engaged with you? Like, are you on social media now? And website? What do you got going on?
Go to the Diane Gilman .com.
Okay.
And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And I have my own YouTube channel, again, the DianeGilman.com. And that's where you can find my podcast, Too Young to Be Old.
You have a great website. It's like really clean. It's white. Yes. It's a great website. I really admire it. You know what? I showed someone your website and I said, man, she's really got going on. She's got clean looking.
It's classy.
It's real classy.
What I wanted.
I told one of my agents, I said, we should model after what she's doing. Because this thing is beautiful.
Thank you. We worked on the colors and positioning. I wanted it to be very visual because, of course, I'm very visual. That was the field I was in. And, I just want women to know that I call it my third act. I see my life as a Broadway play, a big, splashy musical. And what happens in your third act? The story comes together. The lovers find one another again. The heroine shoots the villain. The big song that you go on humming for the rest of your life is in that third act. And so what you've got to do is choose what is your third act and go for it. There is no reason why you can't have even more purpose and more passion in your latter years than you did when you were younger. But you got to believe you can have them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's just, you're exactly right. I mean, mindset is everything. So we're going to wrap up with our 3 questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
So incredibly talented 78-year-old woman, very sophisticated, been through a lot of experiences. In our studio in Laguna Beach, we have a couch. And I would say, Diane, lay down, kick off your shoes, close your eyes, go back to when you were 16 years old. Knowing who you are now, okay, and all your experiences, what advice would you share with yourself? You can go back and talk to yourself.
Oh, this is incredible. I just had my birthday and I did a solo podcast called Conversations with my younger self.
Oh, okay.
And I went back to periods of my life. And one of them was as a teenager. And it was, this BS is not going to last forever.
That's right.
You will be in control of your own life soon enough. But it was so weird as a teenager just to have that whole 1950s mentality of la la, leave it beaver, life at home, so much fun, my favorite uncle. And I wasn't living any of that. And I was the only Jewish girl in high school in a town that had the John Birch Society, which was the equivalent of the Ku Klux Klan on the West Coast. And it was like, get me out of here. Oh my God. And so my advice was, this too shall pass. This will not last forever.
Oh, I love that saying, this too shall pass. My father used to say that to me all the time. So it's our last day on earth. God forbid. It's just me and you. It's our last meal together. It's your choice, Diane. What are we eating and what are we drinking?
You know, I gave up red meat and I gave it up for health reasons, not because I hated it. I would probably do some fantastic. I would do 2 things. I would either go totally carnivore and do like a Kobe beef steak and an incredible red burgundy and truffle fries. Oh, sure. And iceberg lettuce with Roquefort, real Roquefort. Or I would do a fine aged sake and have like $15,000 worth of sushi on the table.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So in our studio in Laguna Beach, we have a black door, Diane, and we have a grand piano. We have a drum set. We have electric and acoustical guitars. If you're in studio with me in Laguna Beach and you could have any musician or band walk through that black door and they could be living or deceased, it's your choice. Who is walking through that door and what song are they playing us?
Okay, so this has to be a dual answer. The first would be Elvis.
Oh,
I love Elvis.
And I do too. What song would Elvis
sing? Anything. It could be Blue Suede Shoes.
Okay.
Anything from his really younger days.
So we'll go with Blue Suede Shoes. And who else would you said you wanted to know first?
I remember when I was 18 and I was driving my little VW Bug up Sunset Boulevard, and the first time I heard Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, honest to God, I stopped the car. It was daylight. It was the middle of the day. Got out of the car and started dancing to Sympathy for the Devil on Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, that's nice.
So I would have to split it between the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, and or Elvis.
Well, Diane Gilman, thank you so much for joining us on the I Own It podcast. If you're interested in listening to more episodes like this that Diane just dropped on us, right-hand click that button and click subscribe. Feel free to click the like button as much as possible because, as I say, out in the ether, let it go viral. And to follow me, go to benreinberg.com. You can follow me on all different social media platforms. And if you are interested in investing in commercial real estate on a passive basis and you are a credit investor, look no further. Go to my company, AllianceCGC.com. We are the leaders in investing in medical office through the United States. You could click on our new fund, the Alliance Medical Property Fund. It is the hottest fund on the market. And we could show you how you could build wealth and a legacy for you and your family. Diane Gilman, thank you so much for joining us. What a privilege.
Total pleasure.
And we'll see you soon.
Oh, I'll see you on my podcast.
You better believe it.
Thank you for listening to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg. To hear our past episodes and connect with Ben, visit benreinberg.com.